America told the World Bank and the IMF at the just concluded spring meetings point blank to reform themselves and offer actual assistance to poorer nations so that they can get off the donor assistance table. Are the proposals by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent something that is achievable, and how will sub-Saharan Africa cope? Well, my name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and you're welcome to The Policy with Leah. And as always, we start from the trends table.
The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC) has declared first tranche of liquidation dividends totaling 46.6 billion naira from the proceeds of sales of the defunct Heritage Bank's assets and recovery of debts owed to the defunct institution. Hawa Gambo, acting head of communication and public affairs of the corporation, in a statement disclosed that the payment commenced on Friday, April 25, 2025. She said the initial dividend payment was at the rate of 9.2 kobo per naira on a pro rata basis to the depositors whose account balances exceeded the NDIC's maximum insured limit of 5 million naira as at the time of the bank's closure. The federal government has disclosed that it is set to pay the outstanding 5 months 35,000 naira wage award arrears to federal government workers. Bao Makwa, Director, Press and Public Relations at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation (OAGF), in a statement explained that the federal government had earlier paid 5 months wage award to federal government employees in installments, adding that the outstanding arrears would also be paid in installments at 35,000 naira per month for 5 months after the April 2025 salary. The statement reiterated the federal government's resolve to fully implement all policies and agreements regarding staff remuneration and welfare to enhance productivity and efficiency. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced a significant review of the documentation requirements for transactions conducted through the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System (PAPSS) in Nigeria. This initiative, the bank noted, is part of its ongoing commitment to foster seamless intra-Africa trade, financial inclusion and operational efficiency for Nigerians engaging in cross-border payments within Africa. Key changes to the documentation requirements associated with PAPSS transactions are to take effect immediately. The National Pension Commission (PENCOM) is set to recover unpaid pension contributions owed Nigerian journalists by newspaper organizations to the tune of 1.3 billion naira. Director General of PENCOM, Ms. Omolola Oluwarara, who made the disclosure when she led a delegation to the Nigerian Press Council in Abuja, expressed concerns over widespread non-compliance with the Pension Reform Act 2014 among media establishments. A statement by PENCOM disclosed that the Commission and the Nigerian Press Council have entered into a strategic collaboration to prevail on newspaper organizations to settle the huge pension liabilities owed to their employees. The Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) has issued a directive to banks nationwide to immediately identify and close all unauthorized FIRS tax and levy collection accounts not processed through the Tax Pro Max system. FIRS, in a public notice signed by its chairman Zak Adedeji, the authority emphasized that the move is part of its ongoing efforts to enhance efficiency and transparency in tax collection processes. The Tax Pro Max, a domestically developed tax administration platform, facilitates various tax-related activities including registration, filing, payment, and issuance of tax clearance certificates.
Up next is our policy conversation on reforming the World Bank and the IMF. Last week, at the just concluded spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent put forward a presentation to the IMFC that suggests the U.S. wants both the IMF and the World Bank to return to their original mandates. In the case of the IMF, he said its core mission remains macroeconomic and financial stability. And for the World Bank, he said it is a poverty reduction and economic growth for low-income countries. In particular, both the IMF and the World Bank, he says, should promote policy discipline for countries to strengthen their institutions, tackle corruption, and ultimately lay the foundation for sound investment so that they see a future that no longer relies on donor assistance. Now, joining me for this conversation to examine the import of this speech to Nigeria and Africa is Dr. David Aheruvoh, a chartered economist and accountant. It's nice to have you join me, sir, for this conversation.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Doctor, you saw the speech. You read it.
I read it.
What do you make of it?
It's a very important speech. Straightforward, and of course, it shows everybody. It's like a mirror, reflecting everybody's position with IMF and World Bank. And if we think well, we will know that this does not concern just the developed country. It's most strategically focusing on developing countries. Because in 1945, when World Bank was formed, it was formed during crisis, immediately after the war. It was called International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, World Bank as at that time. And the purpose was to reconstruct what the war has destroyed, was to bring the economy back on its feet, reduce inflation. Things were costly then. And from there, they become a bank that is subscribed to by every person. We now have IMF, who is to do a thorough banking work, that is for financial stability, as you have said, and as Bessent has said, is to do an assistance to developing countries who might need a long-term loan for development. And they also pair people together, pair borrowers and lenders, so that they can get good loan that can be used for sustainable development. In this wise, you discovered that IMF have taken itself, and World Bank has taken itself from what they are originally set to do, and they are edging into something different, especially for the low-income countries. For developing countries, according to the Bessent, they have no option in negotiation when it comes to loan. They give them loan, dictate draconian terms that worsen their situation before the loan was taken. We can remember our case very well in 1985,
SAP.
when SAP was, Structural Adjustment Program, was to be done, that they advised us and said, devalue Naira from $1 to 1 Naira to 5 Naira to $1. Knowing fully well that your currency is your purchasing power. From that time to date, we have never recovered. So that alone put us in a problem, and it also put many other low-income countries in similar situations, especially African countries.
Part of his observations was that the borrowings seem to be more of quantity than
quality, yes.
Yes, and then he also advised that they should be able to walk away when countries don't take their advice, clearly showing that some of the countries are part of the corruption the U.S. government is talking about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, let me list a little of his observations on the low-income countries. He said there is no policy discipline. Truly, that is very, very key. Every country changes government, but it is not necessary that policies must continue to change in accordance with the change in government. There is no country that will survive through that. That is what is called policy somersault. When you change policy because you are not the person that formulated that policy, it means that there is no stability. And that policy that has been taken, if there is a loan on it, it will die. He's also saying, number two, that they should tackle corruption. That is not a negotiable or a debatable issue in Nigeria. Corruption has become so much endemic that you borrow money with the right hand and it's going out with the left hand. Number three, he was saying, foundation for investment. We should prepare foundation for investment. No country that is without investment that can survive. During the time of Goodluck Jonathan, and Okoje-Iweala was saying, let us save for the rainy day and invest this money. But my governor brothers, they say, no, we must share the money. And they share the money, and up to today, no accountability. Nobody knows what it is done with. And that is one of our bases for poverty today, because where you don't have reserves, where you don't have investments, you are bound to suffer. He also mentioned the issue of reducing or removing donor
assistance,
that in such a way that we don't rely on donations. We should rely on what we are doing to generate our own internal fundings.
But if I may cut you in,
yes.
Is Nigeria and Africa in its entirety, because the bulk of those depending on these donor assistance are Africans?
Exactly.
Can we, as a continent,
survive
without
donation, without donor assistance? Exactly, we can. You see, when you are used to begging, it's difficult to work. Donor assistance is begging. We are becoming used to it. We have to go back to the culture of working. I can tell you and assure you that the money we have in this country can work for us. But they are in the hand of few. And most of them are stolen from all these donor assistance we are talking about. Once you know that money is a donation, you will use it anyhow. It's not a political gift. And those people we are giving it to, they have nothing to do with it. All they do is pick it and eat it. But the people that have something concrete to do with it, they don't have access to it. Why? Because you feel it's a donation, now it's a gift, it's a grant. You just eat it and nothing happens. So the best thing that we ought to do is to work for our money. Get all this money that are hidden in various places together. Put them in an account, in an investment account, and let infrastructures be built to enable us put industries in place. Otherwise, we will still be where we are.
When we look at the new projected direction now, Nigeria and of course the IMF last week accepted that indeed these reforms are needed. So, but clearly you've highlighted some of the concerns that we also should
take care of, yes.
look into. So what does it mean? Because it's not just about the IMF and the World Bank. Right here we see institutions move away from their original mandates into things they have no business, doing.
Exactly.
Really. So
exactly.
what does that do to the development of the society?
You see, once you move from your core mandate to something else, in the first place, you don't have competence in those new areas you are going. No matter what you think is your capacity, in your own area of core mandate, you can't deviate from it. Focus and concentrate on your core mandate and make it work perfectly. That's what I believe. So when CBN was going into various funding, this and that, I said, this is not their core mandate. Your core mandate as a central bank is to stabilize the economy, control the inflation, remove excessive interest rates, and bring stability to the financial sector. So with that, we saw how much trillions we lost in CBN because of those deviations. So the best advice is there should be a checkmate. Government should set supervisors checking on core mandates. There was a time we have what is called Servicom.
We still do.
I say sometimes, because I never heard of them. I don't know what they are doing now. Maybe they have changed their own core mandate too. Their core mandate was to check if service delivery is done and is up to your core mandate, if it is speaking out your core mandate, if you are working according to your core mandate, and if it is efficient also. But I never heard of them. So the best thing we need to do is for a very serious government to sit down and say, look, come, we need to review ourselves. Especially starting from the individual, civil servants. Civil service need a total overhaul. Let's tell ourselves the truth. A total overhaul. If you go to any ministry, for example, and you say, what is your duty? What is your function? I can tell you that 85% of people may not know what is their core functions. I want to be in account. That's where money is. You can see somebody in store who is due to be promoted as director. He will tell you, I'm ready to be here as a supervisor. Why? Because of what is taken out of. So there is a need for total overhaul of the civil service. And the power to the civil service should be increased to be able to withstand the politicians, to tell them, no, I am what you're asking me to do, I can't do it. Or I will not do it because I'm the one that will go to jail.
So we have a duty to deepen knowledge.
Exactly. Not just deepen knowledge, but they should have power to resist. Anytime I talk about supervisory powers, I question myself. Are there no federal auditors? There are. There is nothing going on cogently in the Auditor General's office. I've not seen them exercising the power and the authority given to them by the Constitution.
Do they really have those powers?
They do. They do. But as it is, it's like a cat eating with rats. Now, all that Bessent was saying is you must be able to have transparency and accountability. Then you must be able to challenge any IMF guy that comes to you to give you unnecessary terms and conditions. If you want to fight demon, you must be holy.
But can Africa actually say no to some of these offers?
Of course. Let me tell you something. In 2008, I was in Federal Reserve for a training. And some of the colleagues that came from Asia's other central bank places were discussing. And they said, in Africa, we used to enjoy you people. I said, what are you enjoying? We don't cook your food. He said, no, that's different. He said, when it comes to the job, we like working in Africa because whatever you give them, they will take it and you add their own to it. And these are IMF guys. They add their own to it. So when they go back and write a report that instead of 2% interest rate, they're able to bargain for 10%. But you give them 2% back. The IMF will be happy. The World Bank will be happy. The person they are intermediating for, he will be happy you are getting possibly 4% instead of 2%. And IMF keep 2%. And the people negotiating for me here keep 2% or 4%. So we are paying for it. These are the things we need to correct. We need to correct corruption.
The exchange rate, Secretary Bessent made some very vital observations. And looking at that, and you come home to Nigeria, you see how the rates in the last 1 year have actually tanked to a point that is now worrisome to a lot of participants in the economic space. And hinged on that is the Afrexim Bank coming out last week as well to say Nigeria is now the fourth economy on the continent from being the first. is his observations now, does it have anything to cheer about for Nigeria?
The power of your economy is in your exchange, it's in your currency. To be honest with you, when this thing came initially, I quickly make noise about it. I talked about it in NTA. I talked about it in AIT. I said, no, we have been, the government have been wrongly advised. It shouldn't have devalued, because you take for granted, you devalue because you feel that you don't have enough money. And you are an import-dependent country. All that you buy, all that you consume, 90% of it is imported.
But they advised us to devalue.
If that is where your own knowledge should come in. They will always advise you. But they deny that they didn't even advise you at last. Now, when somebody advised me, there's a proverb in my place that if somebody conduct an oracle for you, and you are there, you should conduct your own internal oracle and know the type of sacrifice you should do. If somebody said, devalue your currency, and you know that it will affect you badly, you can simply tell them no. There are other countries that tell them, we can't take your conditionalities. And they go with it. Now we are in this mess. And I've also proposed to the government then that the only way of getting out of this mess is by redenomination. Redenominate your naira, get it up, but that is a short term. Because even if you redenominate and you didn't work for it, it will come back to devalue, it will continue to devalue. What we need to do is this: redenominate, bring up industrialization. And when you bring up industrialization, then reduce the importation of what it will reduce. It is the industrialization that will reduce it. And that takes me to the issue of Ajakuta. Ajakuta is a backbone of industrialization. Until we do Ajakuta, nothing will happen. And I don't know why this government, all the governments are running away from it. To be honest with you, there is no developed country that is not a steel producing country. Name one. Starting from G7. It carries more than 45% of your construction and other things. If you are talking of infrastructure, it is based on steel. Rails, road bridges, and other things. The aphorism downgrading us to the fourth economy is they are being very fair. We could be lower than that.
Really?
Yes. Lower than that. You should not also forget that this spring meeting said that in 2027, the economy will be worse. And this is what we have seen and talked about since 2021. By this year. So if you didn't listen to us then, and we are now passing through it, I can give you the release of that prediction. That there will be no war in Nigeria, but the economy will be very terrible. So by 2027, we will see where we are. God will not do for man what man can do for himself. So we'll pray, definitely, and we'll work. For faith without work is dead.
I must sincerely thank you, Doctor, for making our time for this conversation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next is our education segment, Simplify This, and from there we take you to the local commodities market. And we birth here. Don't forget that you can log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the market details and more there for you. Until we come your way again, same time next week, log on to our YouTube channel. It is at Saban Media Services. We have all these episodes, beautiful episodes there for you. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, urging you to keep doing business, and God bless Nigeria.